My beloved child, before you look away, before you let this moment slip past you like all the others, I need you to hear me, because I have something to tell you that I have been waiting to say. Something is about to change. You have felt it, haven't you, in a place too deep for words. A quiet stirring you could not explain, a sense that a season is ending and another is about to begin. You were right to feel it. That was not your imagination. That was me, preparing you for what is coming. See, I am doing a new thing. Now it springs up. Do you not perceive it? Isaiah 43:19. Do not turn away now. This message found you today for a reason, and the reason is you. I know you are tired. I know you have prayed prayers that seem to vanish into the ceiling. I know there is a specific thing, a hope you almost stopped hoping for, a door you knocked on until your hand grew weary and then finally lowered it in silence. And I know you began to believe that maybe it was never meant to be, that maybe the silence was my answer, that maybe you had simply been forgotten in the vastness of a world too busy to notice you. But hear me, my child, the silence was never your answer. The silence was the sound of me working in a place you could not see. Before they call, I will answer. While they are still speaking, I will hear. Isaiah 65:24. You thought I was not listening. I was already moving. There is a kind of night that feels endless. You lie in it, and the darkness presses in, and the morning seems like a rumor, like something that happens to other people but never quite reaches you. You have known that night. Perhaps you are in it even now, as these words reach you. But I want you to understand something about the night that will change how you carry it. The night is not the enemy of the morning. The night is the womb of it. It is in the deepest dark, when nothing can be seen and nothing seems to be happening, that the light is quietly being prepared to break. Weeping may stay for the night, but rejoicing comes in the morning. Psalm 30:5. Your morning is not a fantasy, it is an appointment, and it is closer than you think. You have measured your life by what you can see, and what you can see has often discouraged you. You look at the closed doors, the unanswered prayers, the years that seem to have produced so little of what you longed for, and you draw conclusions from the evidence in front of you. But my child, you have been reading only the visible page of a story I am writing on pages you cannot yet see. We live by faith, not by sight. 2 Corinthians 5:7. The most important things happening in your life right now are the ones happening beneath the surface, in the unseen places, where roots grow and foundations are laid and futures are quietly assembled before they ever appear. Do not judge the whole book by the one page open before you. Let me tell you what I have been doing while you were not looking. While you slept, exhausted from carrying what you could not put down, I was awake. He who watches over you will not slumber. Psalm 121:3. While you wept and thought no one saw, I was collecting every tear, not letting a single one fall to the ground wasted. You keep track of all my sorrows. You have collected all my tears in your bottle. Psalm 56:8. While you assumed that nothing was moving, I was arranging things you have no knowledge of, aligning people you have not yet met, opening doors in rooms you have never entered, speaking your name in places you will only discover later. The delay you resented was not me ignoring you. It was me preparing everything at once so that when the moment comes, it will come complete. Remember Joseph, whom I have spoken of before, but hear this part again with new ears. For years he sat forgotten in a prison, having done nothing wrong, watching every dream I had given him seem to rot in the dark. And then, in a single day, everything changed. In one morning he went from the dungeon to the palace, from prisoner to ruler, from forgotten to second in command over all of Egypt. Pharaoh sent for Joseph, and he was quickly brought from the dungeon. Genesis 41:14. Quickly. After all those slow and agonizing years, the change itself came quickly, in the space of a single day. So, do not measure how long your change will take by how long your waiting has been. When my appointed time arrives, what took years to prepare can shift in a single morning. My beloved child, I want you to release the fear that your delay means denial. These two things feel the same when you are inside them, but they could not be more different. A denial is a closed door with nothing behind it. A delay is a closed door with everything behind it, waiting for the right moment to open. You have been standing at what you thought was a wall, and I am telling you, it was a door all along, and the hand that will open it is mine. What he opens, no one can shut. Revelation 3:7. The thing you gave up on was not taken off the table. It was placed in my keeping, and I do not lose what is placed in my hands. There is a story I want you to hold close in this season. The prophet Elijah, after years of drought, climbed a mountain and told his servant to look toward the sea for a sign of rain. The servant looked and saw nothing. He looked again, nothing. 6 times he looked and saw only empty sky. But Elijah did not stop believing rain was coming simply because he could not yet see it. On the 7th look, the servant said there was a cloud, small as a man's hand, rising from the sea. A cloud as small as a man's hand is rising from the sea. 1 Kings 18:44. That tiny cloud was the beginning of a downpour that ended years of drought. So do not despise the small sign, my child. The breakthrough rarely announces itself with thunder at the start. It begins as something small, something you might almost miss, a cloud the size of a hand. Watch for it. It is the front edge of your rain. You have been in a drought. I will not pretend you have not. There have been seasons so dry that you forgot what it felt like to hope for rain. Seasons where you trained yourself to expect less so that you would not be disappointed again. I understand why you did that. It was how you survived. But the drought is not the permanent climate of your life. It is a season, and seasons end. As long as the earth endures, seed time and harvest will never cease. Genesis 8:22. There is a harvest with your name on it, and it does not fail simply because the planting was long ago and the waiting has been hard. Seed time always leads, in the end, to harvest. That is a law I built into the world, and I do not break my own laws for anyone, including your discouragement. Let me tell you about the tears you have cried, because I know you have sometimes felt that they were wasted, that they accomplished nothing, that they were only evidence of your weakness. But in my kingdom, tears are not wasted. They are seed. Those who sow with tears will reap with songs of joy. Those who go out weeping, carrying seed to sow, will return with songs of joy, carrying sheaves with them. Psalm 126, 5-6. Every tear you sowed into the ground of your waiting was a seed planted. And I have been tending that ground. The very sorrow you thought was destroying you was, in my hands, becoming the seed of a joy you cannot yet imagine. You will not always weep. There is a return coming, and it comes with songs, and it comes with a harvest carried in your arms. Remember the valley the pilgrims had to pass through on their way to worship, a dry and desolate place called Baca, the Valley of Weeping. It was not a place anyone would choose to linger. It was a place to pass through on the way to something better. But I want you to notice what happened as they passed through it. As they passed through the Valley of Baca, they make it a place of springs. Psalm 84:6. The very act of passing through the Valley of Weeping, with their faces set toward me, turned that dry place into a place of springs. So it is with you. You did not choose your valley. But as you pass through it with your heart still turned toward me, even the valley of your weeping is becoming a place of springs, water rising where there was only dust. You are not stuck in the valley. You are passing through it, and you are leaving springs behind you. My beloved child, there is a place in you that feels dead. You do not talk about it, but I know it is there. A dream that stopped breathing, a hope that went cold. A part of your heart you closed off because keeping it open hurt too much. And you have made your peace with its death, the way one makes peace with a grave. But I want to take you somewhere. Long ago I set my prophet Ezekiel down in the middle of a valley full of dry bones, bones that were not merely dead but long dead, bleached and scattered and beyond any reasonable hope. And I asked him a question. Son of man, can these bones live? Ezekiel 37:3. It was not a rhetorical question. It was an invitation to believe in a resurrection that made no sense. And then I told him to speak to the bones, and as he spoke, there was a rattling, and bone came to bone, and flesh came upon them, and breath entered them, and they stood up, a vast army where there had been only a graveyard. I will put my spirit in you, and you will live. Ezekiel 37:14. So hear me now, over the dead place in you. Can these bones live? Yes. Not because you can revive them, but because I can. Nothing is too dead for me to raise, nothing. I know the enemy of your soul has whispered that it is too late for you. That whisper is a lie, and I want to expose it. It is never too late for the God who invented time. With the Lord, a day is like 1,000 years, and 1,000 years are like a day. 2 Peter 3:8. What looks late to you is right on time to me. What looks like a missed season to you is often the setup for a better one. I am not bound by your calendar. I have restored things that were declared impossible by everyone who looked at them. I have opened wombs that were closed, opened seas that had no path, opened tombs that were sealed. Late is not a word that limits me. So when the voice says it is too late for your dream, your healing, your restoration, remember who is speaking, and remember who I am. Let me make you a promise from an ancient word that is still alive for you today. There were years in your life that felt stolen, years the locusts ate, seasons where so much was lost, and it seemed nothing could give them back. But hear what I spoke to a people who had lost everything to the locusts. I will repay you for the years the locusts have eaten. Joel 2:25. I am a God who restores lost years. I do not simply move you forward from your losses and leave the past a ruin behind you. I redeem the past itself. I make up for what was taken. I can give you in a compressed season what you thought could only have come from the years you lost. Do not grieve the stolen years as though they are gone forever. They are on my ledger, and I pay my debts of love in full. Remember Naaman, a powerful commander with an incurable disease, who came to my prophet expecting a grand and dramatic cure, and was instead told to go and dip himself 7 times in an ordinary river. He was insulted. It seemed too simple, too small, too undignified for a man of his stature. He almost walked away from his own healing because it did not come in the form he expected. But his servants urged him to try, and he went down and dipped, once, twice, and nothing changed, until the 7th time, when his flesh was restored like that of a child. His flesh was restored and became clean like that of a young boy. 2 Kings 5:14. So understand, my child, that your breakthrough may come through an instruction that seems too simple, an act of obedience that seems too small to matter. Do not despise the small obedience. Sometimes the healing is on the other side of the 7th dip, and everyone who quit at the 6th never saw it. My beloved child, do not despise the day of small beginnings. You look at where you are starting or restarting, and it seems so small, so unimpressive, so far from what you hoped. But I do not measure beginnings the way you do. Do not despise these small beginnings, for the Lord rejoices to see the work begin. Zechariah 4:10. I rejoice over the small beginning, because I can see the great ending hidden inside it the way the whole oak is hidden inside the acorn. What looks small to you is not small to me if it is the seed of what I am growing. So do not be ashamed of your small start. Do not compare it to someone else's middle or end. Tend it faithfully, and watch what I do with what you thought was too little to matter. There is a favor coming to your life that you did not earn and cannot manufacture, and I want you to be ready to receive it without arguing that you do not deserve it. Favor is not a wage that I pay for good behavior. It is a gift I give out of love. Surely, Lord, you bless the righteous. You surround them with your favor as with a shield. Psalm 5:12. I am going to speak your name in rooms you have never entered. I am going to move on hearts you have no access to. I am going to cause people to help you who have no natural reason to help you, because I have gone before you and prepared them. Remember how I gave Esther favor before the king, how I gave Daniel favor before his captors, how I gave Joseph favor before Potiphar and the prison keeper, and finally Pharaoh himself. Favor opened doors that effort alone could never have opened, and that same favor is being released over your life. Do not be surprised when doors open that you did not push on. That is me, going ahead of you. Let me speak to your need, the practical need, the one that keeps you awake doing arithmetic in the dark. I know about it. I am not a God who is only concerned with your soul and indifferent to your circumstances. I am the God who fed Elijah by ravens when there was no other source, who filled the widow's last handful of flour and last drop of oil so that they did not run out through the whole famine, who rained down bread from heaven every morning for a people in a wilderness that grew no bread. And my God will meet all your needs according to the riches of his glory. Philippians 4:19. I have 1,000 ways to provide that you know nothing about. Your provision does not depend on the source you can see. If that source dries up, I have others you have never imagined. Do not let the poverty of your visible options convince you of the poverty of my invisible ones. I own the cattle on 1,000 hills, and I have never once failed to feed a sparrow. Remember the wedding at Cana, where the wine ran out and it seemed the celebration would end in embarrassment. My mother brought the problem to me, and I told the servants to fill the jars with water, ordinary water, and to draw some out and take it to the master of the feast. And somewhere between the filling and the drawing, the water became wine, and not just any wine, but the best wine, saved for last. better than what had been served at the beginning. You have saved the best till now. John 2:10. So hear this, my child. I am the God who saves the best for last. The world serves its best first and leaves you with the dregs at the end. I do the opposite. What I am bringing you now, later in the story, after the waiting, will be better than anything you would have received at the beginning. Your best wine has not been served yet. It is being saved, and it is coming. My beloved child, I know there are mountains in your life that seem immovable, obstacles so large you have stopped even trying to imagine them gone. But I want to remind you of Caleb, who at 85 years old, when most would be looking for rest, pointed at the most difficult territory, the land of giants and fortified cities, and said, "Give me this mountain." Joshua 14:12. He did not ask for the easy portion. He asked for the mountain, because he knew that with me, the mountain was not too much. So, do not shrink your prayers to fit your fear. Do not ask me only for the small and safe thing because the mountain seems impossible. Ask me for the mountain. If you have faith as small as a mustard seed, you can say to this mountain, "Move," and it will move. Matthew 17:20. Nothing will be impossible for you, because nothing is impossible for me, and I am the one who moves in answer to your faith. Remember the walls of Jericho, high and thick and utterly impenetrable by any army of that day. And my instruction for taking them was not a battering ram or a siege or a clever strategy. It was to march around them in silence for 6 days, and on the 7th day to march 7 times and then to shout. It made no military sense. It required faith to look foolish, to do something that seemed to accomplish nothing, day after day, until the appointed moment. And on the 7th day, when they shouted, the wall collapsed. Joshua 6:20. The walls that no weapon could breach fell flat at the sound of obedient faith. So the wall in front of you, the one that has not moved in years, is not as permanent as it looks. Keep marching. Keep obeying even when it seems to change nothing. Your 7th day is coming, and walls that stood for years can fall in a moment. My beloved child, I want to answer the question that troubles you most in the waiting, the question of when. You have asked me when so many times that you have almost stopped expecting an answer. And I will not give you a date to write on your calendar, because that is not how trust is built. But I will give you something better than a date. I will give you a promise about the timing itself. Long ago I spoke to a prophet who was weary of waiting for a vision to come true, and I told him to write the vision down and wait for it, because it would surely come. Though it linger, wait for it. It will certainly come and will not delay. Habakkuk 2:3. Do you hear the paradox in that? Though it linger, it will not delay. From your side, it lingers. From mine, it is perfectly on time, never one moment late. What feels like lateness to you is precision to me. The vision has an appointed time, and the appointed time is not slow, even when it feels slow. Write it down. Wait for it. It will come. There is a kind of waiting that is passive, that simply endures and hopes the time will pass. But I am calling you to a different kind of waiting, an active waiting, a waiting that prepares. When you know that something is coming, you make ready for it. You do not sit idle. Noah built the ark before there was a single cloud in the sky, preparing for a rain no one else believed would come. So in your waiting, prepare. Strengthen what is weak. Learn what you will need to know. Build the capacity to hold what you have asked for. Because when the answer comes, it will require a version of you that the waiting is building right now. The waiting is not wasted time before your life begins. The waiting is where the version of you who can carry the answer is being made. Remember the 4 friends who carried a paralyzed man to me, and when the crowd was too thick to get through the door, they did not give up and go home. They climbed onto the roof, tore it open, and lowered their friend down through it, right in front of me. When Jesus saw their faith, he said to the man, "Your sins are forgiven." Mark 2:5. I saw their faith, the faith that refused to be stopped by the obstacle, the faith that found another way when the front door was blocked. So do not let a blocked door convince you that there is no way to me. Faith finds a way. Faith climbs the roof. And when I see that kind of faith, the faith that will not be turned away, I move. Remember Peter, who saw me walking on the water in the middle of the storm and asked to come to me, and stepped out of the boat onto the waves. And for a moment he walked on the water, doing the impossible, until he looked at the wind and began to sink. And even then, when he cried out, I did not let him drown. Immediately Jesus reached out his hand and caught him. Matthew 14:31. So understand two things from Peter on the water. First, that you were made for more than the safety of the boat, and there are things I am calling you to that will require you to step out. And second, that even when your faith wavers and you begin to sink, I am close enough to catch you immediately. You do not have to fear stepping out, because the same hand that calls you onto the water will not let you drown in it. My beloved child, there is something I need you to stop doing, because it is stealing from you the very peace I want to give you in this season. Stop trying to figure out how. How will it happen? How will the money come? How will the door open? How will the impossible situation resolve? The how is not your assignment. The how is mine. Your assignment is to trust. When I made a promise to Abraham that he would have a son in his old age, I did not explain the how. When I promised to part the sea, I did not first show the dry ground. The how is revealed in the doing, not in the planning. Trust in the Lord with all your heart, and lean not on your own understanding. Proverbs 3:5. You are exhausting yourself trying to solve an equation that was never yours to solve. Lay down the how, pick up the trust, and watch me do what you could not figure out. Let me speak to the discouragement that has become almost comfortable, the low expectation you have wrapped around yourself like a blanket to protect against further disappointment. I understand why you did it. Hope that is repeatedly disappointed begins to feel dangerous, and at some point you decided it was safer to expect little so that you could not be hurt again. But my child, that protection has become a prison. The same wall you built to keep out disappointment is now keeping out hope, and you cannot have one without the other. Hope deferred makes the heart sick, but a longing fulfilled is a tree of life. Proverbs 13:12. I know your hope has been deferred, and I know it has made your heart sick. But the answer is not to kill the hope. The answer is to let me fulfill the longing. Do not protect yourself from me. I am not the source of your disappointment. I am the healer of it. Let hope back in, carefully if you must, but let it back in, because what is coming requires a heart that is still open enough to receive it. Remember David, anointed as king while he was still a boy tending sheep, and then made to wait years, many years, running from a jealous king, hiding in caves, living as a fugitive, long after the oil of anointing had dried on his head. There was a long and painful distance between the promise and the throne, but the waiting was not wasted. In the caves, David was becoming the king the anointing had declared him to be. The years of running taught him to depend on me in ways the palace never could have. I remain confident of this. I will see the goodness of the Lord in the land of the living. Psalm 27:13. So, if there is a long distance in your life between the promise and its fulfillment, do not assume the promise has failed. The distance is where you are being made into the person the promise requires. The cave is not the opposite of the throne. The cave is the training ground for it. My beloved child, I want to restore something to you that you may not even realize you have lost, and that is your sense of expectancy. The childlike ability to wake up believing that something good could happen today. Disappointment steals that quietly, over years, until you wake each day braced for the worst instead of open to the best. But I am a God of surprises, of sudden goodness, of the unexpected phone call and the door that opens when you were not even looking. No eye has seen, no ear has heard, no mind has conceived what God has prepared for those who love Him. 1 Corinthians 2:9. What I have prepared for you is beyond what you have even thought to ask for. So wake up expectant, not anxious, not striving, but expectant, like a child on the morning of a promised gift. Something good is on its way to you, and it may arrive on a day you were not expecting anything at all. Remember Sarah and Abraham, who waited decades for a single promised child, until it was so far past the time of natural possibility that laughter, not faith, was their first response to the promise. And yet the child came, exactly when I said, born to two people the world had written off as too old for any future. And they named him Isaac, which means laughter, because the God who made them wait had the last laugh, and it was a laugh of joy. Is anything too hard for the Lord? Genesis 18:14. So when your situation has passed what seems like the point of possibility, when the natural window appears closed, remember that I specialize in the impossible timing, in the answer that comes after everyone stopped expecting it, in turning the bitter laughter of disbelief into the joyful laughter of fulfillment. Nothing is too hard for me. Nothing has ever been too hard for me. And your situation is not the first exception. My beloved child, do not let the length of your night make you doubt the certainty of your morning. I have never allowed a night that did not end. In all of creation, there has never once been a darkness that the dawn did not eventually break. And the same is true of the night you are in. Weeping may stay for the night, but rejoicing comes in the morning. Psalm 30:5. Notice that weeping is given the night, but only the night. It is a temporary tenant, not a permanent resident. It has a lease that expires at dawn. And joy comes in the morning, not as a visitor who might or might not show up, but as a certainty as reliable as the sunrise. Your weeping has a checkout time. Your joy has an arrival time. And the morning is already on its way to you, even now, even in the dark, even before you can see the first light on the horizon. Remember Lazarus, whom I loved, and whose sisters sent word to me that he was sick, expecting me to come at once. But I stayed where I was 2 more days, and by the time I arrived, Lazarus had been dead 4 days, sealed in a tomb, and his sisters met me with the same ache you have felt. If you had been here, this would not have happened. They believed I had come too late. But I had not come too late. I had come at the exact moment when the miracle would be undeniable, when there could be no explanation but the power of God. And I stood before that sealed tomb and called a dead man by name, and he came out still wrapped in his grave clothes, alive. Lazarus, come out! John 11:43. So when it feels that I have come too late, that the situation has already died, that the tomb is already sealed, remember that I have never once been too late. My timing that looks like lateness to you is often me waiting for the moment when only I can get the glory. Your sealed tomb is not beyond my voice. My beloved child, I know you have grown weary in asking, and you have wondered whether continuing to pray for the same thing is faith or foolishness. Let me settle it for you. I told a story once about a widow who kept coming to a judge who did not care about her, asking again and again for justice, refusing to stop, until finally her sheer persistence wore him down and he granted her request. And I told that story for one reason, to show them that they should always pray and not give up. Luke 18:1. If persistence could move an unjust judge who did not care, how much more will it move a loving Father who cares about you more than you care about yourself? Your continued asking is not nagging me. It is faith refusing to quit, so do not stop. Keep bringing it to me. Keep knocking. The door is not open to the one who knocked once and walked away, but to the one who kept knocking until it opened. Remember Nehemiah, who wept over the broken down walls of a city in ruins and then did not merely weep but rose to rebuild. Against opposition, against mockery, against enemies who tried to stop the work at every turn. And the wall that had lain in rubble for generations was rebuilt in 52 days, because the people had a mind to work and my hand was upon them. So the wall was completed. It had been built with the help of our God, Nehemiah 6:15-16. So whatever lies in ruins in your life, whatever has been broken so long you assumed it would stay broken forever, know that I am a rebuilder. I restore ruins. I raise up the old waste places. And what took years to fall can, with my help, be rebuilt faster than anyone thought possible. Do not stare at the rubble as though it is permanent. Pick up one stone, begin, and watch me build with you. There is a robe I am preparing for you, and a ring, and a place at the table. You have been thinking of yourself as a servant at best, hoping only to be tolerated, expecting to earn your way back into favor slowly and painfully. But that is not how I receive my children. When the prodigal came home rehearsing his speech about being made a servant, the father did not even let him finish. He called for the best robe and a ring for his finger, and sandals for his feet, and a feast. Because a son who was lost had come home, bring the best robe and put it on him. Luke 15:22. So stop approaching me as a beggar hoping for scraps. You are not coming back as a servant. You are coming home as a child. The robe is already being brought out. The ring is already being prepared. The feast is already being made ready. I do not restore you halfway. I restore you all the way. My beloved child, in all of this, I do not want you to miss the deepest thing I am offering you, which is not merely the answer you are waiting for, but me. The breakthrough is not the goal. The breakthrough is a doorway to knowing me more deeply. Because if I gave you everything you asked for but you did not come to know me through the getting of it, you would have gained the whole world and missed the one thing that lasts. This is eternal life. that they know you, the only true God. John 17:3. So even now, in the waiting, do not let your eyes fix so completely on the gift that you miss the giver standing right beside you. I am not only the one who answers, I am the answer. And the intimacy you are gaining with me in this hard season is worth more than the very thing you are asking me for, though I intend to give you that too. My beloved child, let me touch the loneliness of your waiting, because that is often the hardest part, harder even than the not having. It is the sense that you are carrying this alone, that no one truly understands the specific weight of your particular hope, that even those who love you have grown tired of hearing about it. I know that loneliness, and I want you to know that you have never carried it alone, not for one moment. Remember Hagar, cast out into the desert with her son, certain they would die there, weeping where she thought no one could see. But I saw her, I met her in that wilderness, and she called me the God who sees. You are the God who sees me. Genesis 16:13. I saw her in the place she felt most invisible, and I see you in yours, every private tear, every silent night, every moment you smiled so others would not worry while your own heart was breaking. I have seen all of it. You are not invisible to me. You never were. There is a peace I want to give you that does not depend on your circumstances changing first. The world's peace comes only when the problem is solved, but the peace I give comes in the middle of the unsolved problem. A peace that makes no sense to those who are looking only at your situation. Peace I leave with you. My peace I give you. I do not give to you as the world gives. John 14:27. This peace is not the absence of the storm. It is my presence within it. It is the calm of the child asleep in the back of the boat while the waves rage, not because there is no storm, but because the child knows whose arms are near. I am offering you that peace right now, in the unresolved middle, before anything changes. You do not have to wait for the breakthrough to have peace. The peace comes first, and it will carry you until the breakthrough arrives. My beloved child, do not compare your journey to anyone else's. This is one of the surest ways to lose your joy in the waiting. You look at another whose prayer was answered quickly, whose door opened easily, whose season seemed to come without the long delay of yours, and you wonder what is wrong with you, why your road has been so much harder. But I am not running a race between you and them. I have a unique path for each of my children, and yours is not a slower version of theirs. It is a different one entirely, designed for the specific person I am making you into. When Peter asked me about the destiny of another disciple, I told him plainly, "What is that to you? You follow me." John 21:22. So take your eyes off the pace of others. Their timeline is not your timeline, and their portion is not your portion. Follow me on the path I have marked for you, and trust that your appointed time is exactly right for the story I am writing in you. Remember the woman who broke an alabaster jar of costly perfume and poured it over my feet, an extravagant act that those watching called a waste. She did not hold back the most precious thing she had. She poured it all out in worship, and I said that wherever the good news was told in all the world, her act would be told with it. She has done a beautiful thing to me. Mark 14:6. So do not hold back your worship for the day the answer comes. Pour it out now, in the waiting, in the not yet. Worship me before the breakthrough, not only after it. The praise you give me in the dark, before you see any change, is the most precious kind. The alabaster jar broken open in faith, and it is never wasted. It is beautiful to me, and I remember it. My beloved child, I want to strengthen you for the final stretch, because sometimes the hardest part of the waiting is the part right before the answer, when you are most tired and the delay has gone on longest and it seems least likely that anything will change. This is often exactly where people give up, one step from the breakthrough, quitting at the sixth dip, turning back within sight of the promised land. Let us not become weary in doing good, for at the proper time we will reap a harvest if we do not give up. Galatians 6:9. Do you hear the condition at the end? If we do not give up, the harvest is certain, but it belongs to those who do not quit before the proper time. So gather your strength, my child. Do not give up now, so close to the reaping. The very weariness you feel may be the sign that you are nearer than you think, because the resistance is often strongest right before the wall falls. Remember the blind man to whom I gave sight in an unusual way. I did not simply speak and heal him instantly. I made mud with my own saliva and put it on his eyes and told him to go and wash in a certain pool. For a moment his situation got messier before it got better. He walked away with mud on his face, seeing nothing, having to obey an instruction that made no immediate sense. But when he washed, he came back seeing. So the man went and washed and came home seeing. John 9:7. So do not be discouraged if your situation seems to get messier right before the breakthrough, if the process is not clean or logical or comfortable. Sometimes the mud is part of the miracle. Sometimes I ask you to walk in obedience through a stage that makes no sense, carrying the mess, before you arrive at the washing that opens your eyes. Trust the process even when it looks backward. The mud is not a setback. It is part of how I am healing you. My beloved child, I want to remind you who you are, because the long waiting has a way of eroding your sense of identity until you begin to define yourself by what you are still lacking. But you are not defined by your unanswered prayer. You are not defined by the thing you are still waiting for. You are not your delay, not your disappointment, not the empty place where the answer has not yet come. You are my child, chosen and loved, and that identity was settled before your waiting began and will remain long after it ends. See what great love the Father has lavished on us, that we should be called children of God. 1 John 3:1. The waiting is something happening to you. It is not who you are. Hold on to that when the delay tries to convince you that you are somehow less because your answer has not come. You are not less. You are a beloved child in the middle of a story that is not finished. Remember the two disciples walking the road to Emmaus, so consumed by their disappointment and grief that when I myself drew near and walked alongside them, they did not even recognize me. They walked for miles with the very one they were grieving, pouring out their broken hopes to a stranger who was not a stranger at all. Jesus himself came up and walked along with them, but they were kept from recognizing him. Luke 24:15-16. And only later, when they sat to eat, and I broke the bread, were their eyes opened, and they realized I had been with them the whole time. So understand, my child, that even in the seasons when you cannot recognize my presence, when your grief has clouded your eyes so that I seem absent, I am walking right beside you. The failure to recognize me is not the same as my absence. I have been on the road with you the entire time, and there will come a moment when your eyes are opened and you realize it. My beloved child, provision for you does not come all at once in a great storehouse you can count and control. It comes like the manna came, fresh each morning, enough for the day, gathered daily, so that you would learn to depend on me daily and not on your own stockpile. Give us today our daily bread. Matthew 6:11. I know you wish I would hand you the whole future at once so you could stop worrying, but I give you today's bread today and tomorrow's bread tomorrow on purpose, because I am not only providing for your need, I am building your trust. Each morning you gather just enough is another morning you learn that I am faithful. Do not despise the daily nature of my provision. It is not stinginess, it is intimacy. It keeps you coming to me every single day, and that daily coming is worth more than any stockpile could ever be. There is a strength I am building in you through this very waiting that you could not have received any other way. Those who wait on me are not simply passing time. They are being renewed, exchanging their own exhausted strength for mine. Those who hope in the Lord will renew their strength. They will soar on wings like eagles. They will run and not grow weary. They will walk and not be faint. Isaiah 40:31. Notice the order in that promise. First soaring, then running, then walking. There are seasons for each. And in the hardest seasons, when you can no longer soar or even run, the promise is that you will walk and not faint. Sometimes the miracle is not that I remove the long road, but that I give you the strength to keep walking it without collapsing. And that walking strength, quiet and unglamorous, is one of the greatest gifts I give to those who wait. My beloved child, I want to speak to the specific fear that hides beneath your waiting, the fear that maybe the answer will not come at all, that maybe you are the exception, the one whose prayer goes unanswered while everyone else receives theirs. I know that fear visits you in the darkest hours, but let me anchor you in something that does not change with your feelings: my character. I am not a God who makes promises and then forgets them. I am not a God who begins a work and abandons it halfway. Being confident of this, that he who began a good work in you will carry it on to completion. Philippians 1:6. What I start, I finish. I have never left a single one of my works unfinished, and I will not begin with yours. The good work I started in you, and the good thing I have promised you, will be carried through to completion, because my faithfulness does not depend on your circumstances, or your strength, or even your faith on your weakest days. It depends on who I am, and I do not change. Consider the seasons of the earth, which I designed as a picture for you. The farmer who plants in the cold ground of autumn does not dig up his seed in the dead of winter to check whether it is growing, panicking because he sees nothing above the soil. He trusts the process I built into creation. He knows that beneath the frozen surface, in the dark and the cold, the seed is doing exactly what it was made to do, and when spring comes, what was buried rises. While the earth remains, seed time and harvest shall not cease. Genesis 8:22. Your winter is not the end of your seed. It is the necessary season before your spring. Do not dig up in doubt what you planted in faith. Let it stay buried. Let it do its hidden work. The spring is coming, and it will bring up everything the winter was quietly growing in the dark. Remember Ruth again, who had lost her husband and her security and her future, gleaning in fields as a poor foreigner, with no reason to expect anything but survival at the margins. But I was arranging a redemption she knew nothing about. There was a man named Boaz, a kinsman redeemer, who noticed her and protected her, and in time redeemed her and married her, lifting her from poverty and obscurity into a place of honor and belonging. May you be richly rewarded by the Lord, under whose wings you have come to take refuge. Ruth 2:12. So understand, my child, that I am your Redeemer, and I am arranging redemptions in your life that you know nothing about yet. The very field where you feel you are only surviving may be the field where your redemption is quietly walking toward you. Keep gleaning faithfully in your ordinary place. Redemption often finds us in the middle of the ordinary. My beloved child, I do not want you to merely endure this season with clenched teeth, counting down the days until it is over. I want you to find joy in it, not the joy that pretends the difficulty is not real, but a deeper joy that comes from trusting the one who holds the outcome. Consider it pure joy whenever you face trials of many kinds, because the testing of your faith produces perseverance. James 1:2-3. There is a joy available to you right now, in the unfinished middle, that is not dependent on your circumstances resolving. It is the joy of knowing that nothing you are going through is wasted, that every hard day is producing something in you, that the God who loves you is at work even in the delay. That joy is not naive. It is the deepest kind of joy there is, because it cannot be taken away by any circumstance, since it was never based on the circumstance in the first place. I want you to hear how I feel about you, because in the long waiting, you may have begun to imagine that I am distant or disappointed or reluctant, tapping my foot and waiting for you to earn what you are asking for. Nothing could be further from the truth. I delight in you. The Lord your God is with you, the mighty warrior who saves. He will take great delight in you. In his love he will no longer rebuke you, but will rejoice over you with singing. Zephaniah 3:2. Do you know that I sing over you? That the God of all creation, who holds the galaxies in place, rejoices over you with singing, the way a mother sings over the child she adores. You are not tolerated. You are treasured. You are not a burden I am reluctantly attending to. You are a delight I rejoice over. Carry that into your waiting. You are waited on by a God who sings over you. Remember Bartimaeus, the blind beggar by the road, who heard that I was passing and would not be silenced. The crowd rebuked him and told him to be quiet, to know his place, to stop making a scene. But he understood something they did not, that this might be his one moment, and he refused to let it pass in silence. So he cried out even louder, "Son of David, have mercy on me!" Mark T. Suvo Fura. And I stopped and called him and asked what he wanted and gave him his sight. So when the voices around you and the voice inside you tell you to lower your expectations, to stop asking, to accept your situation and be quiet, do the opposite, cry out louder. Do not let this moment pass in resignation. I stop for the one who refuses to be silenced by the crowd. Your persistent cry is not an embarrassment to me. It is the very thing that stops me in the road. My beloved child, I want to guard your heart against a specific danger in long seasons of waiting, and that is the slow root of bitterness that can grow when hope is deferred again and again. When you have waited long and watched others receive what you are still asking for, a bitterness can take root so quietly that you do not notice it until it has spread through everything, poisoning your joy, your relationships, even your prayers. See to it that no bitter root grows up to cause trouble and defile many. Hebrews 12:15. Guard against it, my child. Pull it up while it is small. Do not let the delay make you bitter, because bitterness will steal from you the very softness of heart you will need to receive the answer when it comes. Stay tender, stay open. Refuse the bitterness even when it feels justified, because it will cost you far more than it could ever protect. Part of staying tender is forgiving. And I know there are people connected to your waiting whom you need to forgive. People who failed you, who caused the delay, who hurt you in the very place where you were already vulnerable. Carrying unforgiveness through your waiting is like trying to run a race with weights chained to your ankles. It does not punish them, it only exhausts you. Forgive as the Lord forgave you. Colossians 3, Tredici. I am not asking you to pretend the wound did not happen, or to say that what they did was acceptable. I am asking you to release them to me, to hand me the debt they owe you, so that you are free to run unburdened toward what I have for you. Forgiveness is not primarily a gift to them. It is a gift to yourself, the removal of a weight you were never meant to carry into your future. Remember Gideon, who doubted so deeply that he asked me for sign after sign, laying out a fleece and asking me to make it wet while the ground stayed dry, and then reversing it the next night to be sure. And I did not rebuke him for his doubt or refuse to answer it. I met him in his doubt, patiently, again and again, until his faith was strong enough to act. The Lord is with you, mighty warrior. Judges 6:12. So if you are struggling with doubt in this waiting, if you need to ask me again and again for reassurance, know that I am not angry with your doubt. I am patient with it. I met Gideon in his, and I will meet you in yours. Bring me your doubt honestly. I would rather have your honest doubt brought to me than your polite pretending. I can work with honest doubt. I did with Gideon, and he became a deliverer. My beloved child, there is an anchor I have given you for exactly this kind of season. A hope that holds you steady when everything around you is tossed by the waves. Hope in me is not a fragile wish. It is an anchor, firm and secure, fastened not to anything in your shifting circumstances but to the unchanging character of God Himself. We have this hope as an anchor for the soul, firm and secure. Hebrews 6:19. An anchor does not stop the storm. It holds the ship steady in the storm, keeps it from being driven onto the rocks, holds it in place until the storm passes. That is what your hope in me does. It will not necessarily calm the sea around you right away, but it will hold you steady in the middle of it, fastened to something that cannot move. So drop your anchor deep into my faithfulness, and let it hold you while you wait for the sea to calm. Remember Zerubbabel, who was given the task of rebuilding the temple, who laid the foundation, and then watched the work stall, opposed and discouraged. The great vision reduced to an unfinished foundation for years. And when discouragement was heaviest, I sent a word. The work would be finished, not by human might or power, but by my Spirit. Not by might nor by power, but by my Spirit, says the Lord. Zechariah 4:9. And the hands that laid the foundation would also complete it. So if there is something in your life that you began with great hope and then watched stall, an unfinished foundation that has discouraged you for years, hear this. The one who began it will finish it, and it will be finished not by your striving alone, but by my Spirit. Pick up the work again. What stalled is not what failed. It was only waiting for the word that would complete it, and that word is coming. My beloved child, I want to teach you to celebrate before the victory is visible, to praise me in advance, because there is power in the praise offered before the answer arrives. When Jehoshaphat faced an army too great to fight, I told him the battle was not his but mine, and he sent the singers out in front of the army, praising me before a single blow was struck. And as they began to sing and praise, I set ambushes against the enemy, and the battle was won before the army even arrived. As they began to sing and praise, the Lord set ambushes. 2 Chronicles 20:22. So learn to praise before you see the victory. Sing before the walls fall. Thank me before the answer comes. This is not denial of your situation. It is faith declaring that the outcome is already secure in my hands. And there is something about praise offered in the dark, before the dawn, that moves my hand in ways that anxious waiting never could. There is a fig tree in a story I told, planted in a vineyard, that had not borne fruit for 3 years, and the owner wanted to cut it down as a waste of soil. But the gardener pleaded for it, asking for 1 more year, promising to dig around it and fertilize it and give it another chance to bear fruit. Leave it alone for 1 more year, and I'll dig around it and fertilize it. Luke 13:8. I tell you this so you will know that I am the gardener who pleads for more time. who does not give up on the tree that has not yet borne fruit, who digs around the roots and adds what is needed and waits with patience for the fruit that is still coming. If you have felt like the barren fig tree, fruitless despite the years, know that I have not written you off. I am tending your roots. I am adding what you lack. And your fruitful season is being prepared even now, in the digging and the waiting that feels like nothing but is actually everything. My beloved child, do not underestimate what I can do suddenly. So much of your waiting has trained you to expect only slow and gradual change, and I do work that way often, but I also work suddenly. Paul and Silas sat in a prison at midnight, chained in the deepest cell, having done nothing wrong, and they sang praises to me in the dark. And suddenly there was an earthquake, and the prison doors flew open, and the chains fell off. Suddenly there was such a violent earthquake that the foundations of the prison were shaken. At once all the prison doors flew open. Acts 16:26. Suddenly, after the long dark and the unjust chains, the deliverance came suddenly, in the middle of the night, in the middle of the praise. So do not assume your change must be gradual just because your waiting has been long. I have suddenlies in my hand. And your midnight praise, offered in chains, may be the very thing that precedes your earthquake. I want you to know that the God you are waiting on is the same God who has never failed anyone who trusted him in all the generations that have come before you. Look back through all the stories, all the people who waited on me in their own dark seasons. Not one of them was put to shame for trusting me. None who hope in you will ever be put to shame. Psalm 25:3. You are not the first to walk this road, and the God who was faithful to every one of them is the same God, unchanged, who walks with you now. Their testimonies are your inheritance. The faithfulness I showed to Joseph, to Ruth, to David, to Hannah, to every soul who waited on me and was not disappointed in the end, is the same faithfulness I am bringing to you. You are held by a track record that stretches back to the beginning of time, and it has never once broken. My beloved child, in this season I am also your shepherd, and I want you to rest in what that means. A shepherd does not drive the sheep frantically from behind. He leads them gently from the front to the places they need to go, even when the sheep cannot understand the path. He makes me lie down in green pastures. He leads me beside quiet waters. He refreshes my soul. Psalm 23:2-3. Notice that sometimes the shepherd makes the sheep lie down. There are seasons where the rest is not the sheep's idea, where I bring you to a stillness you did not choose because you needed it more than you knew. If this season has felt like being made to lie down when you wanted to keep moving, perhaps it is because I am refreshing your soul in a way that only stillness can accomplish. Trust the shepherd. Even the lying down is love. Even the still waters, when you wanted rushing progress, are exactly what your soul required. There is a reason I am taking you through this particular waiting, and part of that reason is other people. The comfort you are receiving from me in your affliction is not only for you. It is being stored up in you so that one day you can give it to someone else walking the same dark road. The God of all comfort, who comforts us in all our troubles, so that we can comfort those in any trouble with the comfort we ourselves receive from God. 2 Coríntios 1:3-4. So, this season is qualifying you to help others in a way that no sermon or book ever could. The person you will one day sit beside, who is drowning in the very waters you are passing through now, will be reached by you precisely because you have been here. Your waiting is not only about your answer. It is preparing you to become a lifeline for someone I will send to you later, someone who will only be able to hear it from a person who has actually been where they are. My beloved child, when the breakthrough finally comes, and it will come, do not let it draw you away from the closeness with me that the waiting created. This is a real danger. Sometimes people seek me desperately in the drought and then drift from me in the rain, forgetting in their abundance the one they clung to in their need. Do not be like that. Remain in me, as I also remain in you. No branch can bear fruit by itself. It must remain in the vine. John 15:4. The intimacy you have found with me in this hard season is the most valuable thing you have gained, more valuable than the answer itself. Guard it. Carry it into your season of abundance. Let the breakthrough deepen your dependence on me rather than replacing it. Stay connected to the vine, in the drought and in the harvest alike, because apart from me, even your answered prayers will not bear the fruit they were meant to bear. I want to speak once more to the weariness, because I know that even encouragement can become one more thing to carry when you are this tired. So let me not add to your burden, but lift it. Come to me, right now, not to do anything, not to fix anything, not to muster more faith, but simply to rest. Come to me, all you who are weary and burdened, and I will give you rest. Matthew 11:28. Lay it all down for a moment. The waiting, the wondering, the trying to be strong, the effort of hoping. Just lay it down here with me. You do not have to hold it all together in this moment. Let me hold it. Let me hold you. The answer will still be coming after you rest. The waiting does not require your constant vigilance to bring it about. So rest, truly rest, and let the God who never sleeps keep watch over what you have entrusted to him. There is a reward woven into your faithfulness through this season that you cannot yet see, a crown for those who endure. When your perseverance is complete, when you have held on through the whole long test and not let go of me, there is something waiting that will make every hard day make sense. Blessed is the one who perseveres under trial, because having stood the test, that person will receive the crown of life that the Lord has promised to those who love him. James 1:12. I do not overlook endurance. I do not forget the ones who held on when holding on was hard. Every day you did not give up is being recorded, and it is building toward a reward far greater than the difficulty it cost you. So when you are tempted to think your endurance is pointless, remember that heaven is keeping a different record than the one your discouragement is writing. Your perseverance is seen, and it is treasured, and it will be crowned. My beloved child, I want to restore your imagination for what is possible, because long waiting shrinks our dreams until we ask only for the minimum, afraid to hope for more. But I am able to do far more than the minimum you have reduced your prayers to. Now to him who is able to do immeasurably more than all we ask or imagine, according to his power that is at work within us. Ephesians 3:20. Immeasurably more. Not just barely enough. Not just what you asked for. Immeasurably more than you have even dared to imagine. So expand your prayers again. Stop asking me only for the crumbs when I have a feast. Stop asking me to barely get you through when I want to bring you into abundance. I am not limited by the smallness of your requests. I can exceed even the boldest thing you have asked. Dream bigger, my child. The God you are praying to is bigger than the biggest prayer you have prayed. Consider what I did for Job in the end. He lost everything, and the loss was real and terrible, and I never pretended otherwise. But when the season of testing was complete, I did not merely restore what he had lost. I gave him twice as much as he had before. The Lord blessed the latter part of Job's life more than the former part. Job 42:12. The latter part was greater than the former. So do not assume that your best days are behind you, that the losses of your past have set the ceiling on your future. I am a God of double restoration, of latter glory greater than former glory. Your latter part can be greater than your former part. What you lost does not determine what you will have. The end of your story can be more blessed than the beginning, and often is, with those who endure the testing and hold on to me through it. There is a promise I want to leave deep in your spirit, one that has held my children steady through every dark night of history. I have plans for you, and they are good plans, plans you can trust even when you cannot see them. For I know the plans I have for you, plans to prosper you and not to harm you, plans to give you hope and a future. Jeremiah 29:11. Read the plans I hold, to prosper you, not to harm you, to give you hope and a future. Even this waiting, even this hard season, is part of a plan that ends in hope and a future, not in harm. I am not working against you, I am working for you, even through the very thing that feels like it is working against you. The plan is good, the planner is good, and the future the plan is moving toward is a future of hope, prepared specifically for you. My beloved child, as these words move toward their close, I want you to take one thing away above all the rest. Your story is not over. Whatever chapter you are in, however dark, however stalled, however long the waiting has been, it is not the final chapter. The author has not put down his pen. He who began a good work in you will carry it on to completion. Philippians 1:6. What looks like an ending is a middle. What looks like a closed door is a delay before an opening. What looks like a grave is, in my hands, a womb. You are not at the end of your story. You are in the part right before the turn, the part that always feels the darkest and the longest, the part just before the morning breaks. Hold on. The turn is coming. The morning is coming. And you will look back on this very season as the place where I was doing the deepest and most beautiful work of your whole life. So lift your head, my beloved child. Straighten your shoulders under the weight, because the weight will not be there forever. Wipe your eyes, because the tears you have sown are seed, and the harvest is coming. Steady your heart, because the God who has never failed anyone who trusted him has not begun with you. Something is about to change. You have felt it, and you were right to feel it. The season is turning. The cloud the size of a hand is rising from the sea. The small beginning is stirring. The bones are beginning to rattle. The stone is about to be rolled away. And on the other side of this waiting is not merely the answer you asked for, but a deeper knowing of the one who answered, and a version of you strong enough and deep enough to carry everything I have prepared. Walk out into this day, and this week, and this season, with your eyes lifted and your heart expectant, watching for the small signs of the great thing I am doing. Do not despise the small cloud. Do not quit at the sixth dip. Do not dig up in doubt what you planted in faith. Do not give up one step from the breakthrough. And above all, do not let go of my hand, because I am not letting go of yours, and I will walk you all the way through this to the morning that is coming. The morning I have already appointed, the morning that is closer than you think. Weeping may stay for the night, but rejoicing comes in the morning. Psalm 35. Your morning is coming, my child. It is already on its way. Hold on just a little longer. The dawn is nearer than the dark would have you believe. Thank you for spending this time in the presence of these words. Know this before you go. You were not brought here today by accident. You were called here, in this exact moment, by a Father who saw your waiting and wanted you to know that He has not forgotten, that He is moving on your behalf even now, and that your breakthrough is nearer than you think. If these words stirred something in your heart, take a moment to subscribe to this channel and turn on the notification bell so you never miss a message prepared with you in mind. And share this with someone who is waiting in their own long night, someone who needs to be reminded that morning is coming. Until the next message, hold on, keep your eyes lifted, and let His light lead you all the way home. Amen.